My goodness.
High class problems.
High class problems. What's happening, everybody? Man, oh man. Just I wish you guys could have been with us 4 minutes ago. That was
entertainment. There's entertainment value that we probably shouldn't get into, but
oh my goodness, man, oh man. What's up, everybody, man? Thank you guys for tuning in. Get to hang out with me and Cuz. It's my one of my favorite times every week. We get to chop it up, come to you guys live. Whatever's on your mind, throw into the comments, man. So we got to talk about this. Like, is it what would lure you away? Have you seen the numbers yet? What are they going to pay Lincoln?
I haven't seen the numbers yet. It was a lot. I guarantee you, it was a lot of money.
Yeah.
They sold them on. I'm telling you, man. They sold them on a vision. Yep. They sold them on a vision, and he bought it, hook, line, and sinker. I mean, they had to play good.
He had the reins to call whatever he wanted to call in one of the top programs in the country, and he got lured away.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fascinating. I mean, it's shocked the whole dang country. That's for sure.
So for people listening in, what you just said, a lot of them might not understand that. Share what you mean by they sold him on a vision.
Yeah. So a story. There's somebody's a really good storyteller at USC. We're talking about Lincoln Riley leaving Oklahoma Sooners to go to USC. While we're waiting for questions, mind you, that's what we're here for. But until then, we'll clear our concerns. But when we talk about vision, like, you have to imagine, OU's a one-loss team, potentially still in the hunt for a national championship and a Big 12 championship. Had they won that game, that was over like one bad call on a pass play away from us winning that game, going to a Big 12 championship and being on the bubble to probably knock Cincinnati off to be in the top four. And that's probably what would happen if we won that and won the Big 12 championship. So like, he's literally vying for a national championship, and somehow USC, and this was like, so I didn't look up. I almost did look up the names of all the coaches that hopped on a plane and flew out there with them the next day. And
took Grinch with him. He took Grinch. I think he took Grinch and 3 others with him.
Yeah. So this shit was all going on long before we got to the OU-OSU game. And so you got to imagine, what was the story being told, right? What
were they selling him on? What were the vision that they were casting for him?
Yeah. Which is, to me, maybe they either are way smarter than us, or he's not a very smart man, because USC hasn't been a contender since Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart.
Yeah, when was that?
Yeah, the Pac-12, 10, how many of them there are? It's a joke, and they're at the bottom of the pile. But
you are taking one of the top programs in the country, and you're going to the super conference of super conferences.
Has anything in the rules changed that how they talked about, and I said it too. We talked about this. They should give Reggie Bush back the Heisman Trophy.
100% they should.
On all the changes and all that stuff, right? Yeah. And so, if all that stuff is going to be allowed, are they anticipating celebrities on the sidelines at USC leveraging that whole scene for recruiting? And is that the vision? Did we go back in time to that's what they sold them on? Because it can't just be recruiting alone. He had the program, and he's got the pedigree behind him already with 2 Heisman Trophy winners, 1 runner-up. You don't need to leave to recruit. They can't be that much better in Southern California.
Top quarterbacks coming out of high school, top receivers coming out of high school. He's got them all.
Yeah. So there had to be something. And that's when you texted me. I was like, man, they have to know something about how they're gonna use money to recruit there, and how much money maybe USC has comparatively, and booster club there. You know what I'm saying? Because it is a different animal, probably.
It is a different animal. I would agree with that. When your response made me think, and I was like, man, I think you're definitely there's definitely something there. They have had to sell him something on the recruiting side of things.
Yeah. But it's that, or that whole celebrities on the sideline. That shoot, display. You know, that's where the photo. Maybe not. I might be making this up, but isn't that where when the photo of Magic Johnson and all of them walking in together? That was at a USC game, I think.
I think so too.
Right. So like it was Madonna, Magic Johnson, and two other celebrities, and they were all walking in together. It was a killer photo, but killer photo, like one of the coolest photos I've ever seen. But I think it was a USC game, and that was what Reggie Bush and Leinart and all that whole gang had. They were celebrities there, yeah. And maybe that's part of it. You know, maybe all of those rules have changed about they got punished for it before, but now it's all legal. Everything they were doing.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you, man. If Bush doesn't have his Heisman Trophy back, he should. He should be on the damn Heisman commercial with all those boys. So, how does that translate into our business? Why is vision?
Vision, understanding the game theory, understanding when the rules change, everything changes. What are you selling now versus what were you selling before? I think that applies to what we're doing at EXP. I mean, we're selling now is game theory. You change one part of the game, and now the whole game has changed, and the whole game has changed for us. It's I was having a conversation earlier with a Mike Ferry coach. I'll just leave it at that. But we were talking about, I was like, this didn't just change the real estate industry as far as the brokerage goes. It changed the entire coaching industry, the entire agent growth side of the industry, which is a huge piece of a huge ton of revenue that now everyone is aligning to try to add that value and get compensated on the back end of the success of the agents that join us, which is a win-win. Every business model should be looking at ways to innovate like we're doing. It's just
it's always redesigning, right? So, and I was on Coach Burt's call last night, and how he has a theme every month, and this month is vision, and it's exactly what he was talking about. And I'm excited. I've got a strategic coach session tomorrow, and Coach Burt is a Dan Sullivan disciple, and so I think that's why I resonate really well with him, just because I understand a lot of his concepts and where it's come from, and so one of the things that Coach Burt was talking about, and I was looking at kind of our assignment tomorrow, and it's the 10 times process. And so it's not 10X, it's 10 times. So think about your business as it is right now. If your business was to be 10 times the size of it as it is this year, next year, what would have to change? Right. So it goes back to what you said in the vision. What has to change? What do we have to redesign? If your business was, you did 100 deals, 10 times that, what would have to change? What would the support have to look like? What would the structure have to look like? What would the procedures have to look like? Right. And really just thinking through. And it's the thing that, we've said for over a decade, most real estate agents can't think, they don't think big enough. And so making sure that, you're plugging into environments that are challenging you. And that I did a call with Renee right before this and her team. And that's what we were talking about. I was like, fortunate for me since 2004, being in an environment that challenges you to think bigger every day. Right. Yeah. And you have that support, you have those people that are pushing each other. And a lot of agents don't have that. And that's why, we talk about, I say it again, right? We've said it so many times, is that I believe the biggest value of coming over to EXP is aligning with us. And most agents, and we've adopted people at EXP that get abandoned, and we adopt them to be, a honey badger, and they're like, holy shit. Like, and it's the culture, it's the environment that challenges you and pushes you to think bigger. And you look at the people that are a part of the Honey Badger Nation. I mean, geez, just you want to go down the list?
Real estate.
Look at the top. Look at the top teams at EXP this year.
Yeah.
Top 3 in transactions in GCI. Yeah. Top 3, both.
All Honey Badgers.
All Honey Badgers. That's being in an environment that's challenging you to think bigger. And so it's everything, right? Environment, we talk about it. Environment, circumstance drives everything. Drives our thinking, drives our behavior, drives our habits, drives our results.
Yep.
So key.
Hey, have you watched the Tom Brady special yet? Any of those episodes
No,
yet?
I haven't. I've been wanting to.
I didn't even know it came out, which is crazy because I watch ESPN every day. So I don't know how I could possibly miss it. But I did. And so Tom Brady he was talking about his coach at Michigan and how he was, it's no one person is greater than the team. No one person is greater than the team. And it's the same thing with this group at EXP that we have. It's, we can say, we have this value and that value that we bring to the table, which, by the way, Chip, thanks for aligning with us and choosing to be a part of this group. But it's collectively, we're unstoppable. And like, that's when you really, you're dangerous, is when you understand that the team is greater than any one individual that you're partnered with here. It's really the entire company. It's not just the Honey Badgers. And that is the culture of the company. But I think within the company, there's another culture, and that is the Honey Badger Nation. But and so and again, it's like, you help everybody regardless, and that is the culture that's been created. And as much as we tried to create that culture and have done it successfully, there's just something about the financial alignment piece, as we've talked about over the years, with Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger and the biases of people, and compensation bias being I think is number one, is a big deal to kind of understand and unpack. And I think most people just don't get it. When you financially align people together to help one another, especially with, when you attract with an opportunity with such a large opportunity and such an upside, you just attract abundance-minded, smart business people that do everything they can to help people.
Yeah, to unpack that a little bit, right? So unpack, the compensation, understanding, how what that does.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's funny to listen to Charlie Munger say it, because he's 93 or whatever, and he's like, it's funny, it's funny that, this is one of my biases, and even I find myself in several occasions where I still fall for this, today. Like, and I mean, he was just so nonchalantly talking about, like, you talk about a man that should understand it at the highest level, right? But he still falls victim to understanding that compensation drives behavior. And, you can read, Drive, the book Drive, and it talks about, leading with the carrot versus the stick and this and that and the other, or whatever. And it's a great book. But the bottom line is, when you financially align, it changes people's behavior. And the alignment we all have is that if you do better and I help you, and you do better, I do better. And so does everybody that's in alignment with us. And so, the other piece is, we all own stock in the company. And once again, the people that have the ability to help more, meaning the most successful people, also have more stock, right? So they've been buying more stock along the way. They're getting the 16,000 back aside. So they have more of an incentive to want to help people, because, well, hell, if the company does good, if everybody sells more houses, we all win together. And that's, I think the best example to relate it to is when hiring the ISA, right? Like, remember, we had tried every compensation possible, to try to align the inside salesperson to the goal of setting qualified listing appointments, qualified buyer appointments, depending on which side of the fence they were on, and in terms of what they were calling. And, and if you bonus them on the commission on the transaction, which, by the way, they have zero to do with, right? Like they set qualified appointments. That is what, their job is to make calls, identify qualified leads, and set qualified appointments for an agent, for you as a team leader, for an agent on the team. And so if that's what they're in control of, they're not in control of whether the buyer signs a buyer uses your lender, or the buyer buys a home buys a home ever. They're not, they have no control over whether you take the listing, get the listing, or take the listing as a choice, win or lose the listing, or if that listing ever sells. So what do they focus on? Every day they'd be in my office wanting to know what closings. Hey, did the offer go through? They were focused on things that weren't in alignment with what they were in control of daily. And so I just think that, when you get that piece, that little piece right, they're focused on the right things, and you don't have them focused on something that's not quite in alignment with what they have control over with their daily actions and effort. And so, yeah, that's an example I think we see in the real estate, and to the same degree, closing coordinator, which the first closing coordinator, you bonus more than you should, not thinking that you're going to go from 10 deals a month to 40 or whatever, and then now the compensation, you got a transaction coordinator that's that's getting overcompensated for things that are not necessarily all in their control. Or they're making more money than you are if you're not careful. But so making sure that you're aligning the actions to what they're in control of. Customer experience. Why don't you tell that story, John? Customer experience was who owns the customer experience? A big question mark. In most real estate agents' business, the customer experience is owned by the lead agent, or really it could be the buyer agent if that they have the relationship. Whoever has the relationship. But as a company, wanting to be in control of the lifetime value of the customer, you want to control the relationship and the experience across all departments, right? Because everyone has a piece of the time. The listing coordinators working with the agents, making the promise on what's going to happen, and the listing coordinators coordinating everything, making sure everything's happening ahead of time to get it listed and it hits the market. And then there's the follow up during that time period till it gets an offer. And then there's presenting of the offer. Then it goes under contract and it goes to closing. And there's different people that are kind of in charge of different segments of that transaction as you build out a team. And they need to know what, number one, how they're being graded. What is the scoreboard for them? Because if they don't see the scoreboard, then there's no, you take the scoreboards out of a football game and
you don't pay attention.
Nobody's watching the game. Everybody's talking in the stands. You can't even, you hear because everybody's talking to each other if you take scoreboards down. So you got to have the scoreboard. That's what is it? 4 disciplines of execution.
Yep.
But that's all of these are pieces to the puzzle to building a successful business.
Yeah, and to your point on the customer experience side of things, and understand that from a company perspective, you want to maintain control of it. And kind of the rule of thumb that we really tried to build the systems and processes around was 75% controlled by the company. And then you leave that other 25% up to the agent or whoever has that initial relationship, because what we know with agents is that compensation drives behavior. So they're commission based. So they are always looking for their next kill. And that's where the company side of things and the systems and processes have to be in place to build LTV, lifetime value. And we got to a point that we even created a position called CEM, Client Experience Manager, and they were compensated based on our Net Promoter Score, which is the ultimate question. Bain and Associates did a study. You can just Google Net Promoter Score on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being absolute. How likely are you to refer a friend, family member, or colleague to do business with us? And you're looking for promoters, which are 9s and 10s, and your Net Promoter Score is based on a percentage, less detractors who are 6 and below. And so that position's graded on Net Promoter Score. That position's graded on social proof, testimonials, reviews, and capture rate. And so we were only doing 2 to 250 transactions at that point when we instilled that function. And I was like, we're not doing enough deals not to have at least a 99 or 100% capture rate. So, I was like, I want to hear from every damn person. Like we're not doing 10,000 deals, right? So, we should be able to capture that information. And we did. We did it at a super high level. Our Net Promoter Score was almost in the 90s. And we were capturing, testimonials and reviews almost every client. And it was magical, and it helped build lifetime value. It helped referrals at a high level. And that's one of the things, Coach Burt has identified and helped us identify. And we see it with real estate agents, is because they don't have that function to build that experience, to focus on lifetime value, which is going to be repeat referral based side of business, which then gives you allows you to keep more marketing dollars, right? Because the rule of thumb, and this is
cost to acquire a customer.
Exactly, cost to acquire a customer, and Vern's rule of thumb, Vern Harnish's rule of thumb on that, and Greg Crabtree's rule of thumb is, your marketing and ad spend should be 10% or less of your revenue. So if you're running at $1 million, that means your budget allocation should be $100,000 a year to marketing. But then it's like, okay, well, hold on. Who are we marketing and branding to? And that's where, you understand that you have different characters with your business and your real estate business. You've got sellers, you've got buyers, you've got past clients, and you've got real estate agents. And even in that segment with buyers, you got in-town buyers, out-of-town buyers. You also got other agents that have buyers. And when you start to unpack and you look at that, you're like, well, that's a lot of money. Well, who are we going after? What are we trying to build this business around? Let's allocate those dollars. But when you've got a high referral based business model, your number is small. And I remember working with Harley and Chris when we were really diving into this. They were like our favorite little guinea pigs that we were vetting this model out. And Chris was like, I want to get our marketing spend to 1%. He's like, because we are building a high, relationship model. And so it's just interesting to see. And there's so many ways to be successful in this business. And it comes back to what we were talking about at the beginning, right? It comes back down to the vision. What's the vision that you have for your business? And then we got into compensation, which we were talking about model. And then the other component there, and this is why the copycat companies out there are trying to copycat, but they're not going to get there because they're copycatting. They don't have a clear vision. They have a copycat vision, but what they're missing the people. They're missing the people. They're missing the visionary. They're missing the leadership. They're missing the world-class talent that's within this organization. And that's what's missing. They'll just be copycats, but they're not going to be able to excel at a level without the other components.
100%. You can't recreate the values and the people and that piece. So you can try to copy the model, but you can't copy the culture and the values of the people.
And man, I'll never forget, man, Fort Lauderdale, 2017, sitting at that lunch table, you and me sitting right across from Glenn and Jason and just listening to the vision. And then what was it? 18 months later, we're sitting in Orlando and I text you. I'm like, this mofo is executing on the vision to the T. like everything he shared with us in Fort Lauderdale is happening. And that's when you have all of the ingredients, right? You have a big vision. You've got visionaries and leaders, world-class A-player talent, and you've got the right model and the right compensation.
100%.
Man, have you talked to Kenny Trong lately?
No, I haven't. I haven't talked to him.
That dude's on another planet. He's on another level. He'll be number 1 at EXP next year. He is on another level.
How many agents is he up to?
Some crazy. Several hundred. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I heard over 100.
Yeah, several hundred.
That's getting on up there now.
So
I wonder you know what his leadership model is for managing and leading the agents?
Yeah, he unpacked it. I had him on Expert Mentors last week. He unpacked it a little bit for us. Yeah, go listen to it. It's a great conversation. The last couple of Expert Mentors have been unbelievable. I had V on a couple of weeks ago and just listening to Vision in her big vision. It's really powerful. And so, yeah, he's really going the brick and mortar route. And he goes, this is what I wanted to do at KW. He goes, but it's just, I wasn't able to. He goes, now I'm here and I can do it. And so that goes back to big vision, right? Kenny has a massive vision and he's not slowing down and he's executing on it at a high level. He's got, he will be redesigning. As you continue to grow, you have to redesign, right? Because we know that as you get to certain levels, certain sizes, you get to certain mile markers, you got to redesign. So how he's leading kind of a pod type format right now, he knows he has to redesign it. And we didn't get into the details. He just had mentioned that hey, this is how I'm leading them. I asked him that question. I said, how he's leading. He said, this is how we're doing it now, but I know I got to redesign it. So it's just interesting to see, when you've got that big vision and it's just that you don't settle, right? You don't settle on, hey, this is how we've always done it. It's always iterating, always looking to dial in. And it just like he said, he goes, I'm a part of 3 coaching programs. He goes, I'm a constant student. And I think
Right.
that's a telltale sign for you look at these leaders that are all around us. They're just great students.
Yep. That
Great
is true.
students. What's up, everybody? Mr. Hillsman, man, Coach Burt. Yeah, I got me one of those calls too, man. It's pretty cool when Coach Burt's on the other end of the line, and so, cuz what are your thoughts, man? I've kind of teetered kind of with events, as far as in person or virtual, and what are your thoughts? If leveraging somebody like a Coach Burt, do you try to? My thoughts, man, right now on in-person events at a big scale is to piggyback like what we did in Vegas.
Man, that is yes, 1,000%. And I think he's clarified the question a little bit more there. He means having Coach Burt virtual. To be clear, I mean having virtual versus in person. Is that what he's saying? I
think so.
Yeah, man, that's a good question. Yeah, man. Anything that you can piggyback is especially is something that EXP is doing. I mean, that's how we have to do things moving forward. I think is there's just too big opportunity to add more value to more people, get more people there. But yeah, I mean, as far as virtual versus in person, man, I think the world is done with. I mean, variants of COVID and all this other bullshit. I just think that in person is going to be better. I mean, you can attest to it. I mean, Dan was in the room, live with Coach Burt. That's a much different impact and feeling, coming out of a live event versus, just watching the videos, which we all did. Yeah, I think it moves people in a live environment. Now, in terms of ROI, depends on what he's asking. I mean, I don't know what he's asking. I know he's expensive, so that would be we could take that offline and unpack that a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm gonna steal a Coach Burt line. I'll stop repeating myself when you guys all do what we say, and I know none of you are going to do what we say, so we're going to keep repeating ourselves.
Right.
You have to get clear on events. What's the primary goal? What's the secondary goal? And how are you going to monetize? If you don't figure out those 3 things, events will not be sustainable for you, and you will learn a lesson. And I'm not speaking to Dan. Dan gets this. I'm just speaking to everybody listening in. If you're thinking about events, thinking about doing an event, you have to get clear on what is the goal, what is the intent, what is the primary outcome that we're looking for, and then what is secondary, and then how are we going to monetize? How are we going to monetize the event? And the example we did, we took boot camp to Atlanta earlier this year, and that was my first question. Getting on one, who's in charge, right? So there's a great model. It's called DACY. Mark Chesley taught us this model, and DACY is who's the driver, right? Who's driving this project? Who's driving this revenue stream? Who's driving this event? And then A is who's the approver? Who's making all the final decisions? Who's approving what we're doing? C is who's contributing? You have contributors. And then I is informed. Who do we need to inform about what's going on? And so we got clear on who the driver was. And then the next question was what's the goal? And they got clear. The goal was, hey, we want to train our people. That's the primary goal. Secondary is that we want to leverage it for agent attraction. Perfect. How are we going to monetize it? And that's your checklist. If you want to do events, you gotta get clear on the DACY. You got to get clear on the primary, secondary objectives, outcomes, goals. And then you got to get clear on how we're going to monetize this. If you do those things, you will have a successful event. It'll be sustainable. It'll be a great experience, and you'll want to do it again.
And I would definitely, we decided to, to charge just a little enough to cover the cost of the event. So that's another way to look at it too, in terms of return on investment.
Yeah.
Instead of charging for it.
And
the show up rate will be better.
Your show up rate is so much better. I think, what we would always gauge on the freebie, it was about a 50-50, right? If they RSVP'd, it was about a 50-50 chance they're going to show up. They're going to use some excuse not to get in their car and commute. But when they got a little bit of letting go of some change in their pocket, they're going to show up and they're going to pay. If they pay, they're going to pay attention. So it's really important to see, because then your RSVP to show rate is really high.
Right. You know, the other thing too is, you know, man, I got to tell you, man, Al and I had a meeting this morning, and it was just a really high quality meeting in terms of us going through like the goal with this app that we're working on, and the presentation, the actual presentation, and just trying to rethink the whole thing, right? So like, you know, if we were gonna do this the best it could be done, how would we do it? Go back into, you know, the copywriting and Pennsylvania bullets, and you know how we say everything, how we communicate everything, all of the, because it's a marketing presentation, it's a sales presentation, and so, you know, we were given slides, and you know, that was, you know, a long time ago, that as you know, examples of what to use, but it wasn't mandatory that we use, and so we were just going through it all and just breaking down, you know, what would we, you know, how would we identify the problem, how we're going to help them solve it. And it's just going to be more powerful. This presentation is going to be different than it's ever been. And I think it's going to be phenomenal. But yeah, I don't remember why I brought that up. There was a reason, something you said that triggered it. But
well, I think and this is a good reminder for all of you listening in. And this is the Oprah question. And you know, and just go back to my example with the ATL crew. Every time we met, we started the meeting off with positive focus, but then we said, okay, well, what's the goal? And because you never want to assume, right? And so I think what that's where you're kind of alluding to with you and Al is, okay, well, what's the goal?
You're right.
Is that really the goal?
It was going back to, you know, what Dan was saying too with Coach Burt too, is, you know, one of the things in Dan Kennedy's book on presentations, you know, that he talks about, that was, you know, when you go, you know, and it's one of those things that, you know, it's really difficult to do webinars that sell millions of dollars worth of stuff. And yet we did it for a lot of years. Now we did it because we paid a lot of people a lot of money that taught us how to, you know, we've been on a lot of webinars. We bought a lot of stuff. We paid a lot of people a lot of money to learn how to do webinars. It's like when you go to messing with any part of a webinar, it's there, all of it's there for a reason. When we work on this type of stuff, and it takes sometimes, I mean, I used to get frustrated with the process, because it takes a while to really hone it in and nail it down. But like, you know, is everything that's being taught in alignment with that number one goal, like you mentioned, or that secondary goal even. But like, that's the challenge I have with is it going to add value is one thing. Is it going to help me recruit is another thing, right? And so it goes back to, like you said, getting clear on the goal, and then making sure whatever is being shared is a part of the offer at the end. Otherwise, it shouldn't be in the presentation, right? And so that's just a framework and a way to think about it, because I remember when we were on the road selling, you know, technology and things of that nature, you know, we would share some of our success and some of the things that we'd done to be successful, but it wasn't a part of what you got when you bought. So the example was ISAs, and the fact we built a call center and we leveraged outbound calls to successfully build an entire successful company that did 272 deals in its first 12 months of existence. That was incredible. But the story it told, and the takeaway people had were, I need an ISA, right? Yeah. And so when the offer wasn't, you're going to get an ISA when you come partner with us at EXP, or if that was the case, this was selling the technology, which you didn't get an ISA when you bought the technology. Then, you know, it's you know, you have to consider whether or not that's the right content to be sharing. And so, you know, I think that's the hardest part about creating a sales presentation and doing events and things of that nature, is because at the end of the day, if they don't go, oh my God, I get all of that when I come partner with y'all, then it shouldn't have been the presentation. And so, not to say that Coach Burt shouldn't be included or involved in adding value one way or another. Obviously, we paid for him, you know, as a coach, you know, to add value to the group and to give different perspective and, you know, teach us new skills and things of that nature, and get better in the areas that we know we could all get better in, that he teaches around. But that's just something to consider, that I know that unless you've been living out of a suitcase for 4 to 5 days at a time, iterating on something at night after pitching something all day, sometimes 2 times a day. You don't really get serious about understanding the presentation until you have to do that shit. So yeah. I don't recommend it by any stretch, but going on the road and selling stuff is hard. But yeah, just some more food for thought to Dan's question.
Yeah, no, it's definitely so good, and getting clear on the objective, and anytime you jump into another conversation, don't be afraid. Hey, what's the intent? And making sure that everybody gets everybody on the same page. That's the big thing. And we're all having the same conversation, because what typically happens is that if you don't reset the intent, then you got 2 or 3 people in the room. There's 2 or 3 different conversations going on, and so what's being said, but also what's going on in everybody's mind. So that really helps everybody get on the same page and have the same conversation. And that just kind of rambling a thought here, but even getting in those conversations and declaring what type of conversation we want to have. Hey, is this a discussion? Are we making a decision here? Like what are we talking about? And just being okay to communicate how we need to be thinking and how we need to be communicating will have your conversations so much more effective.
Right.
Man, oh man. Speaking of Coach Burt, we got him live tomorrow morning.
Yep.
That'll be good. That'll be real good. How's training?
Hard. Dude, yeah, the pool last night almost killed me.
You cramped up? What the hell happened?
I started cramping up at about 15. Well, between 17 and 1900 yards. I couldn't do it, or I would start cramping up, and then my back started hurting because I was trying to waddle like swim. The form was bad, so I was like, this is not helping. But,
no, I'm out.
Yeah,
get me out of here.
Yeah, but I started to get a little concerned because what is the distance for?
So we're going 1.2. A little over a mile.
How many?
It's about it'll be right around 2,000 yards.
Oh, so I basically did it last night. All right, that's great. Yeah. So I didn't die, but I definitely I got to a point where this is what my challenge has been with the swimming. I don't know how to swim slow. I don't know how to run. I don't know how to run in my endurance level. I don't know how to swim in my endurance level. I get gassed every time. But until I was really gassed, then I only swam slow. I finally got into that rhythm where I was just barely going, and I was like, "Oh, I could do this all day." If I hadn't been cramping up, anyways. So yeah, there's a gear that I don't know how to get into right out of the gate that I seem to be.
It takes time. Yeah. It does. It takes time. It's frustrating to get into that gear.
It's very frustrating, dude. I was running today. And I was supposed to be an endurance level, and I'm like at 170, and I'm like, I'm not even running. I'm not even running. I'm like so slow, but I'm like, why the hell am I at 170? Like I shouldn't be at one. I didn't feel like I should at the end of the 4th mile. And I was like, I can walk, and I'm still going to be like above the endurance level. Like that's. Especially if it's a hill. So anyways, it's tough. I mean, it's tough. I mean, I feel better, doing all this stuff, but every day I question whether I should have.
It takes time. It took me a good year to get comfortable with understanding that, okay, I got to walk. All right. And now, I do more walking than anything. Right. So she's got me, cause we're trying to go a long ways. So, I do a lot of walking in the vest. I think the vest has got 32 pounds in it right now. So it's just a lot of walking, man. On Sunday, I took every bit of me to not quit. Like just turn around and go home. That was where I was mentally. Ooh. I was like, I just want to go home. So it's good stuff. Man, excited. We've got boot camp next week in Frisco. Super excited. The first live boot camp we've had since all of the nonsense over the last 18 months. And so it'll be good. We've done a couple virtual, and definitely not the same. I'm virtual out. Cool. All right, guys. Well, appreciate y'all. If you guys have any other questions, comments, man, feel free to reach out, and we'll help you guys continue to stay unstuck. But yeah, spend this time really thinking about, you know, how big of a future you want, what you want this business to look like. You know, if you were to 10 times your business over the next 24 months, what has to happen, right? What has to happen? If you did it over the next 12 months, what would have to happen? And, you know, really start to understand that you're in control of how you want to design it. Cool. All right, cuz, appreciate you. And go give that bank hell.
Got it. See you guys.
See ya.